Score, the podcast. The only show taking you inside the studios of the world's most celebrated composers and musicians.
From Los Angeles, inside 5 Point Studios, this is Score, the podcast. I'm your host, Kenny Holmes.
Hey.
Alongside Robert Kraft.
Hello.
And we're here, our guests this week, Grammy-nominated, Emmy-winning composer duo of Stranger Things, Kyle Dixon and Michael Stein.
It's actually kind of a wonderful throwback to our very first episode. I think someone asked me, you asked me, would be the someone, what music I was excited about, and I said, I love the music from Stranger Things.
And you said, hey, maybe we'll get them on the show sometime.
Thinking we'd never be able to get those guys. They must be really hard to find.
Plus, they're in Austin.
They're in Austin, Texas. We'll never get them.
Little did we know, they have a studio right here in L.A.
Right, welcoming them very shortly. After we had a couple things we're going to talk about before we bring in...
Well, let's introduce our executive producer, Matt Schrader.
Oh, hey, guys.
Hi, Matt. 2 words for you. Jordan Bieber. Well, yes. Jordan Bieber's going to be here later.
Robert, you've been blowing up online. The real Jordan Bieber followed you and put together a little mashup.
Jordan Bieber.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Is it like a hit-bound kind of chart topping?
Well, it's on Billboard now. It's rising.
Let me see if I can find it real quick somewhere.
Jordan Bieber.
Yeah, it was posted on the... hold on a sec.
On the interweb?
Yeah. Oh, here it is. I found it.
2 words for you.
Sounds a little like Justin Bieber.
Jordan Bieber.
Oh, man.
Oh, were you on? Were you on this?
2 words for you. 2 words. 2 words for you. Jordan Bieber.
What do you mean?
Oh, that must be him.
Jordan.
Robert, I had no idea you had time to feature in this top 40 hit.
Jordan. 2 words. 2 words for you.
Oh, man.
Jordan. 2 words. Jordan.
I love the internet.
Jordan. 2 words. Jordan Bieber. Jordan Bieber.
Wow.
Yeah,
that was great.
I don't want to talk about it too much. It's my other career, which is just...
Were you working on that this week?
Oh, man, I've been working on that for like months. But finally got it together and just...
I just thought it was really surprising how you leaked that on the show by accident, and then the single releases.
I'm a big
the same day
strategist with virality. That's
I guess
what they call
so.
me.
This is like some Kanye level stuff
it's
here.
It's heavy.
Oh, man.
It's a heavy kind of inside track.
Well, anyway, I like the track a lot.
Well, Jordan's really... He's actually very proud of it as well.
We'd love to get him on the show. I know you guys been in the studio just grinding.
Well, he's working hard. But if he gets out of the studio and takes a break, we'll get him on.
Well, in the meantime, we have 2 big guests, Kyle Dixon and Michael Stein. We're going to have them in just a bit. We're going to talk Stranger Things and their band Survive and a bunch of other things they're working on. We also, on today's show, have a new episode of The Inside Track with Dr. Siu-Lan Tan. It's titled I Love New York. I'm not going to leak anything on it. It's really cool, so stick around for that. She always has such cool insight on the way music is used in
really
film and TV. Yep. Different perspective. Plus, another chance for our audience to win a fabulous prize. It's the game that's sweeping social media, just like Jordan Bieber. Name that score.
And with the best theme.
Yes. Well, speaking
of,
opinion. We had a couple listeners already send in some new cues for Name That Score after John Powell completely shredded the theme.
I don't have this. We'll revisit it next week.
Yeah, we'll play a couple of them next week, so keep sending them in. But that was really cool. Thanks for those that have sent their cues in.
Didn't one guy, the episode went up, and one guy sent something 8 hours later, a new Name That Score
Well, the episode
theme?
posted at midnight Pacific time, and someone in England, that's 8 in the morning, I think within 12 hours of the show being out, he sent us a cue, so that was pretty cool. I do want to get into a little topic before we jump in with the guys and talk about Stranger Things. A trailer released for Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, yeah, I saw it.
Which is the biopic on Freddie Mercury. I think it's Queen as a whole, but
long awaited. This whole project has been, people have been excited for it.
And it's Rami Malek playing Freddie Mercury, which is going to be interesting because he's a big success from Mr. Robot.
It's a really crazy trailer because the music from Queen, they're using samples of that, kind of like your Jordan Bieber mix a minute ago. But they're using samples from all these Queen songs that are kind of stitched together in interesting ways for the trailer.
The trailer is basically just their greatest hits album snipped together.
I always wonder about the scenes behind the scene of how hard it is to get the rights to.
So we were talking about this. This
Queen.
stuff is expensive. There's rights involved.
Yep.
There's how does that to put together a trailer, even like the one that has come out for that, where you have 8 different songs that are chopped up and put into something. Is that a headache for a music department?
Somebody went through a lot of permissions and a lot of money and a lot of rights, because you figure out that, first of all, any song, there's the underlying song, so you have to go to the publisher for the copyright. Maybe there's several writers, maybe there's several publishers. You have to go to the record company and say, can we use your master? Or maybe you want to recreate some, you can't say the word sound alike anymore. That's a lawsuit. So you have to say something that represents the way the song was recorded. So it's people don't realize how complicated it is. And for biopics, it's often one of the biggest obstacles, which is
rights.
Can you get the rights to the music? I mean, there's a Jimi Hendrix biopic out there where they couldn't get a lot of the music, so they kind of worked around it, and the movie didn't do very well because they didn't have a lot of Hendrix in there.
With something as big as Queen, though, you got to assume that the band and the people behind it are involved, because that must otherwise. I mean, that's probably a reason why there isn't a Michael Jackson biopic. I can't imagine how much that would cost.
Yeah, some official.
It's hard, and there are examples of both. I mean, we did Walk the Line when I was at Fox.
Johnny Cash?
The Johnny Cash story. And John Cash, his son, was very involved with us, very involved in permissions and helping and relationships, because that's really what it takes. But we also have an example in the last couple of weeks of how this can go horribly wrong, where there were 2 Leonard Bernstein pictures being made simultaneously, moving towards the finish line. Jake Gyllenhaal had one, and Bradley Cooper and with Steven Spielberg had another. And the Bernstein
who are you going to go with if you're
the estate picked Bradley Cooper and Steven Spielberg.
Oh, they picked Spielberg. That's
Funny
a real surprise.
how they made that choice. But it leaves Jake Gyllenhaal in a situation of how are you going to make a Leonard Bernstein picture when you don't have the permissions for all the music that you need.
Well, when you do a movie like this about Queen, at least, I mean, you got to assume, too, that their music is going to hit the top of the charts after the movie comes out. We've seen this a lot of times with different movies where a song is used, whether it's unrelated and it's just a pop song used in a movie like Guardians of the Galaxy with all the different hits in there. Even I was reading about Wayne's World, the moment where they use Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yep.
Do you have that, Matt?
I think we'll go with a little Bohemian Rhapsody, gentlemen.
Good call. So I was reading a story about this where Mike Myers demanded that this song be used in the movie, and I guess the studio wanted a Guns N' Roses song, and he almost quit the project because he demanded this be used, and then this song blew up almost bigger than the first time it came out. And this is, I mean, what a legendary movie moment that is. So using these types of songs, and if the band's on board, they're going to make a lot of money, both from the studio paying for the rights, but then also
what does that
the
stuff
charts.
cost, Robert?
Well, I'll tell you that you'd think it would always be obvious, but it isn't. I'll tell you a story about, we were making the movie Kingdom of Heaven.
Yep. Ridley
Scott directing, and a lot of big stars in it. Orlando Bloom.
Well, Ridley Scott's directing. It's legit,
right?
Yeah.
Huge, and of course, we wanted to make a trailer using what would be a wonderful song with the word "heaven" in the title. So we went to.
I can think of one.
To Jimmy Page and Robert Plant.
Yep.
To get "Stairway to Heaven."
Denied.
Full
circle with
$1 million
Wayne's World.
was offered.
$1 million.
Yep.
The studio offered to pay $1 million
for the trailer.
Just for the trailer.
Yep. And they felt strongly that this didn't. Any other song but "Stairway to Heaven," you're going to have trouble finding "Stairway to Heaven" in any piece of television or film.
Well, going back to Wayne's World, they go to play it in the thing, and he's like, ding, 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 and they point to the sign, and it's like, no Stairway to Heaven. Like it was almost like a meta putting the song in there, but without doing it. It was kind of brilliant.
So certain bands are very particular. There have been a lot of instances where we've offered money to a band to say, we'd like to put your single in a movie, and they say no. We just don't want it. We don't like that movie. We don't like that actor. We don't like that vibe. So you'd think it'd be an obvious, oh, how great. I mean, Coldplay wouldn't let their songs be in movies for a long time. They just
interesting,
They just didn't want it. And so you'd think, well, you're going to sell records. Let's do it. We're not convinced. So
2 words for you. Jordan Bieber.
Well, Jordan Bieber will put his song in a movie. Actually, if you'll buy him lunch, so he's the easiest. So the whole Jordan Bieber catalog is available. I want everyone to know.
It's pretty small, I think, right now.
It's very small. At this point, it's just that one song which we heard.
Yeah,
which,
that's a good one.
But that song's going up.
Do you want to play us out with that, Matt?
That song's going up in price, so I'd grab it now.
Matt just shook.
You can
his
see
head.
it on our social media page.
Yeah,
Great.
if you want to see it, or you can. I think Jordan Bieber is now.
At the Jordan Bieber.
Oh, good.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a rage on social
So I
media
think we're
right now.
pretty much teed up. We can call in the fellas to come into their own 5-point studio and start our show.
That is correct. We're bringing them in. Kyle Dixon, Michael Stein, from half of the band Survive, and the composers of Stranger Things, coming up right after the break.
Hey, Matt Schrader here. We're back to the show in 15 seconds, but a quick thank you to everyone who's been telling a friend about Score the Podcast. We're one of the fastest growing entertainment podcasts out there right now, and that's thanks to you telling a friend. You're probably thinking of somebody else right now that'd enjoy the show. If it's safe to do so, hit pause and let them know about Score the Podcast. It helps keep this show going. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to Score the Podcast. We're here welcoming in Kyle Dixon and Michael Stein. You know their incredible music from Stranger Things 1 and 2 and upcoming 3. Thanks so much for joining Score the Podcast, guys.
Yeah, cool.
We're surrounded by all your synthesizers and really cool equipment.
Vintage.
You guys started, obviously, in a band. I'm curious how you met. What was the initial meeting before the band, or did you meet for the band, or were you friends before? How did that?
We met pretty young.
Yeah, we met when we were like 13 at the skate park.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. In Dallas?
Yeah, or in Plano technically, but
Eisenberg's.
But yeah, Dallas.
Did you know each one of you were musicians?
We weren't musicians at that time.
I don't think we
were
were,
just
yeah.
listening to music and sharing music.
And skating.
And skating.
That was for about, I don't know, 8-10 years before we actually even started to try to make music.
Did you bond over music? Like,
Yes.
what were you guys listening to?
At that point, we were pretty
I
young.
mean, we were
Sublime.
No.
I definitely had a Sublime
We weren't
CD.
from California, so it was
311.
And
this is
That's-
elementary school. But yeah,
I mean, 311, like, I feel like they became famous
I'm
because
down
of
with
skate
them.
videos. I don't know if that's right, but I feel like skate videos kind of propagated them quite a bit.
That probably makes sense.
So there was a moment where you decided to go into a garage or a rehearsal room, or let's jam, or let's write a song.
Well, so most of this, like, when we started really getting into music, we started getting into like experimental electronic stuff that was kind of borderline pop at that point, like Aphex Twin and things on Warp Records, Reflex Records, and all that kind of stuff. DMX Crew,
Square Pusher,
for sure.
Alltecker, IDM stuff,
Oval, Marcus Pop,
the Tortoise stuff,
Portishead, all that kind of stuff is what we
Radiohead,
even. Yeah,
Nice.
Massive Attack.
And so you did Survive. You're doing your thing, and the Duffer Brothers. I know that and correct me if I'm wrong on the story, but the story goes that the Duffer Brothers cut their sizzle trailer with your song Dirge.
You have Dirge here, Matt? Play a little.
So they cut this trailer to Dirge and sold the show, and then called you and said, "Hey, are you interested?" How did that go?
They emailed us, and it only took the first sentence for us to, immediately perk up. It said, "There's 3 keywords, Netflix, Winona Ryder, sci-fi horror. Are you interested?"
Wow.
So that's an obvious yes. And then we basically just scrambled over.
Did they have the sizzle trailer attached?
Yeah,
with Dirge in there.
Yeah.
But you've never met them?
Nope.
No.
Hadn't met them.
Definitely a left field email.
Yeah, it was.
Did you think it was fake at first? What was
No,
the reaction?
It didn't seem
Well,
fake.
I looked it up, and then it really didn't seem fake. It was brief. It wasn't
direct.
It was direct. It was very direct, very brief. Didn't have anything in it that would make it seem like it wasn't real.
So I think that night we sent over just a huge library of work.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just like looked for anything that was already on Dropbox because we wanted to get back to them as soon as possible.
Yep.
So what was the email? It said, "We did this. Are you interested? Send us some examples."
Well, it said, it gave the prompt and said, "Are you still a band?" Because it had been a few years since we'd released anything. "Are you available? Are you interested?"
Do you think of yourself now as guys from a band who score a TV show, or do you think of yourself as film composers looking for other scores to write who also have a band? Where do you position yourself?
We've had the interest of being in film score and sound design and just work in that field from before even the very beginning of getting into music. It was always from a
great
creative kind of
Yeah.
exploring experimental and textural stuff. So
Depending on who's asking, I will give a different answer.
I like that.
I think I'm just happy to be doing music for a living.
Yeah.
And
Perfect.
and I would like to do that in as many ways as possible.
I think that's the best answer you could ever have, which is it's hard to make a living as a musician, and just saying yes to opportunities is not being precious. Just saying, hey, you want us to score a show, or you want us to play a date? You said when we talked earlier, you're about to play a date in Barcelona.
We're playing
correct?
2 dates in Barcelona, actually. 2 consecutive afternoons, I guess, for Primavera Festival. in
So
Barcelona.
the band Survive is alive and well.
Yeah.
yeah, we're active.
How has this whole thing changed the band's popularity and notoriety?
Well, that wasn't. It was non-existent prior to the show. So
The plus column, you
Yeah.
can say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with lots of opportunities. We've been traveling a lot and playing a lot of gigs and traveling abroad and playing all
there-
the big festivals.
So I imagine the Stranger Things gig is seasonal. In other words, there's a time that you're writing and cranking episodes, and then when they go into their writing mode. So are we currently in a mode for the show where they're off and you have time to play gigs?
well, half of that is true. They're filming now. They've begun filming. We're not in on that project yet, but we're doing other projects.
We've been expanding what we've been working on and
Yeah.
taking on some other
We've got a
mini series and stuff.
We got a few
Nice.
things that are in the works right now. One's wrapping as we speak. Like
How cool. So we can look for more.
more scores.
Are any of those things you can talk about yet?
Yeah.
I think so. At least one of them for sure, because it's already been out.
What's it called?
Is that the short film?
We have scored 2 of 3. It's a VR series called Spheres.
I read
Yeah.
about this.
With
direct-
Jessica Chastain?
Jessica Chastain
That's right.
narrated the
Third.
it's the second. So the episodes are coming out of order. So the second episode came out first, which is about black holes, narrated by Jessica Chastain. The third episode came out second, and it's just kind of about the birth of the cosmos, and that's narrated by Patti Smith, which is
That's
really
cool.
great.
Nice.
And the third, I can't talk about that one yet. It's not out.
Yeah.
We haven't done it.
Yeah.
But directed by Eliza McNitt, produced by what's that guy's name? Darren Aronofsky.
Oh, great.
Oh yeah,
That guy.
Protozoa.
It's an
Yeah.
interesting. Darren
There's
Aronofsky.
Crimes of Curiosity.
Some dude.
Bunch of people.
Darren is an interesting director to mention here because he has worked with some really interesting. He works with Clint Mansell,
Right.
Mhm.
you know, for Requiem for a Dream, and then Black Swan, and Clint is kind of in an interesting zone that I would even go so far as to say is not entirely removed from the geography of Kyle Dixon and Michael Stein, or Kyle and Dixon, which is like Jordan.
Which
Bieber.
is I was gonna say that sounds like Jordan Bieber's
Kyle
friend.
and Dixon is
People
kind
have
of
asked me the
Kylan.
first time
Jordan,
I made notice
Bieber, Jordan Bieber.
of a film score before, and it might have been like Pie.
It was definitely
Like,
Pie because it had like a drum and bass score. It was
Right
like
on.
it was Clint
that
Mansell.
might have been one of
with
the
a
first
drum
ones
bass
I
score.
got on like a CD or burned or something.
I think when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the Austin community. I'd like to hear some of your thoughts, and also just about the process for Stranger Things.
Yeah, we're going to jump back into Stranger Things, talk about that a little bit more. But first, the inside track.
The Inside Track with music psychologist Dr. Siu-Lan Tan.
Billy Wilder's film, The Lost Weekend, begins with a panoramic shot of the New York City skyline. And then we pan over to a window where we see a man who's packing a suitcase. My colleague Oliver Vituk used this scene in a research study and asked these 3 questions. What could this man be thinking? What are his life circumstances? And what could happen next? He showed some participants this scene with the original score composed by Miklos Rozsa, which goes like this. Viewers tended to give narratives with positive themes. For instance, one wrote, "The man is in a good mood, has a secure and well-paid job, and is just preparing a candlelit dinner for his new love." Then they go for a walk and explore the beauties of the city. Other participants were shown the same scene, but with this music. Those who watched this version tended to give more negatively toned narratives. One wrote, "He's packing his luggage to leave this town. The city looks depressing, without a perspective for the future. The miserable everyday life in New York." You may recognize this music as Barber's Adagio for Strings, a classical piece used in Platoon, Lorenzo's Oil, and many other films. Interestingly, even the mood of the city and the weather seem to change somewhat with the music. With Rocha's original score, some participants wrote, "It's a nice, warm autumn day with leaves on the streets. Lovely weather, beautiful surroundings." Whereas with Barber's alternate music, participants described the same scene as, "The city looks depressing, gloomy surroundings." The pan shot over the city, all gray and desperate, invoked a feeling of loneliness. The film is shot in black and white, and the cityscape looks a little overcast in the background. But as we pan across a building in the foreground, it looks like it may be bathed in sunlight. It's interesting that each music track seemed to play up one of these elements. So in this study, the music didn't just shape the narrative about the man's life, but also colored viewers' impressions of New York City, which is like a character in many movies. It brings to mind the opening sequence of Woody Allen's Manhattan, where shots of the same New York City skyline are shown, but now accompanied by this music. With Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, the New York skyline looks majestic, powerful and grand. Lastly, here's another memorable New York opening, Saturday Night Fever. This time we don't hear any music at first, only views of New York City with the sounds of traffic and the subway. And then we see John Travolta strutting down a street in Brooklyn. His well-shined shoes stepping to the beat of Stayin' Alive. Vituk's intriguing study shows that music can frame opening scenes in quite different ways, building different expectations for what's going to happen, shaping our impressions of characters we meet, and even coloring our perceptions of the environments where these stories and characters live.
Dr. Siu-Lan Tan is a leading researcher in the study of film music and the author of many books, including her latest, Psychology of Music, From Sound to Significance, available now at score-movie.com/podcast.
Hey, we're back with Dixon and Stein, or as I like to call them, Kyle and Dixon. It's kind of a new variation. It's the sub-band. And Michael and Stein is kind of another duo.
Yeah, those are both smaller bands.
Smaller bands are kind of offshoot bands.
They kind of do everything.
It's a good solo project.
Yeah, those are the solo projects.
Michael and Stein.
There's a filmmaking community in Austin, Texas, which certainly Hollywood's very aware of. There's Roberto Rodriguez and Terrence Malick. Richard Linklater. I've been down there to make some movies with a number of them, and some great recording studios. Do you feel that you are being courted by or embraced by the filmmakers in Austin? You still hang mostly with the music crew, or both?
I don't know anyone. Well, that's not true.
But
Of the people you mentioned,
Yeah.
I don't know anyone like
I've
industry
never
there.
met them.
Okay.
I went to Troublemaker Studios for the first time during South by this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally half a mile from my house. But
They didn't throw their arms around you or carry you
I
around
mean,
on their
Which one is
shoulders?
that? Which one is that?
Which Troublemaker Studios?
Yeah.
Robert Rodriguez.
That's
plays-
where all the, I guess, Spy
Yeah.
Kids.
Oh, man.
he
Is
did.
that where some
I
people
remember-
broke into Alien vs.
I was
Predator?
just about to say
Or-
Alien. What was that movie called? Anyway, there was an Alien set that was left up.
Nice.
Or no, sorry, Predator.
Right.
Not Alien. You
Predator,
threw me off.
yep.
The Predator set was left up for a while, and I had one of the best Valentine's days ever by taking my girlfriend at the time to break into the Predator set and play around with some like impaled predators.
Okay, we're gonna leave that alone for now for all kinds of reasons.
Anyway, it was a nice time.
Don't put that out of context.
Yeah, right.
That should be a sample.
That's it. Valentine's Day and impaled in the same sentence. We're
Two
gonna
words
just
for
leave.
you. Jordan Bieber.
Jordan Bieber is the only person that would approve.
You go to these film score events. Are you hanging with the composers, or are you the music guys? What's that interaction like?
I mean, generally everybody is pretty nice and
Yeah,
just
I bet.
wants to talk, you know. They're just
You
excited
turn
that
your
there's
back, and then they say, "Those guys."
They
it's
got the
great.
big show.
It's great. I mean, I think there's an important conversation that's going on here, which is an evolution of film music that a lot of what you're doing represents. It's, music. There was a word that I have always known in film scoring, which is that score is cuey.
QE?
QE, meaning a lot of
I get it, yeah.
-Y. So it means that when the guy's walking up the stairs, you're
Oh, Mickey
and when
Mouse.
right, and Mickey Mousing it and being cuey, which is music really stops and starts on the action. The door closes, the guy hugs the girl, there's the cue, and they walk out and they get in the car and drive away, and the cue ends.
I know if we write something that feels a little generic, we'll call it a little too TV.
TV. That's funny. Here you're doing TV. That might be the evolution of where TV is, which is TV music now is so interesting and sophisticated. And I think that in some ways, part of it is the approach, which I wanted to ask you about, which is traditionally the composer gets a script and he reads the script and he starts to write some themes for characters, and then he presents, they spot the episode or spot the film with the director, and music stops here and starts here. It doesn't feel to me, just as an observer, like that may be the process, but I'd be curious, do you score to picture? Do you hand in a lot of, I always imagine as yards of fabric that the director cuts to fit the character? How does the process work for Stranger Things?
They don't necessarily happen in the exact order you think they would traditionally, like how it might have happened before digital and how fast things move.
We've definitely written pieces prior to the picture that have made it into the picture.
We can hear the bird on the other side of the window.
Those birds. Are they
Birdie's
outside?
auditioning.
Get some bird samples in there.
Yeah.
We will next week.
So you send them music and they say this is cool for a scene.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll send over ideas from the conceptual phase.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
That is a
And,
real phase.
Oh,
I was really joking about
I
it.
thought
Right?
you were playing something.
Yeah.
That was a nice low end.
Now I know that I
Good
can't
effect.
track with condenser mics in here. It's great to find out.
But also,
there's like
there must be dramatic beats in a particular episode.
Oh, for
Did
sure.
the
I
director
mean-
say to you, "Here comes 11, and she's looking scared. Can you make her more scared?"
Oh, yeah.
We try to pick out, some climactic scenes and also moments early on that we would need themes for.
Do they send you?
Yeah, I was going to say, how
complete
much
episodes?
do they send you in advance? Because,
Well-
there's two different ways to do TV now. You either get the whole series at once, or you get episode by episode.
as a viewer.
No, I'm saying like in working too.
Oh.
We prefer to just work off of a lock.
We
If we can.
So the first season was kind of it was completely different. We were just everyone was excited.
It wasn't
to
a
see.
thing yet. Yeah.
It wasn't a
Right.
thing yet. Everyone was excited to get started. So we were writing, looking at dailies because we just wanted to see what these kids were like and what things were looking like, and writing a lot of stuff before we even had anything resembling an edit. And then we got scenes as they would come in, and did a lot of work that way, which was really fun. But the second season, we ended up also doing a lot of duplicate work because we started working so early.
Oh, okay.
So the second time around, well, we were also more busy, so we didn't work that way. But we wanted to make sure that we weren't writing to anything until it was at least a director's cut or a late editor's cut with some feedback from the directors. But we were working to full episodes.
Did you know when you were watching the dailies and when you first got this project that it was going to be what it? Did you get a sense that it was amazing, or were you not really sure what to expect?
I was genuinely laughing at certain scenes.
Yeah.
I was convinced the writing was good.
I don't think that anybody expected it to be as
Huge.
Yeah, if
as
anyone had a
massive.
crystal ball, yeah.
Right.
But it's just,
But
it's
I think there's-
overnight. And that's the other thing, too, with Netflix. When something comes out, people can watch it in a day and realize that this thing's amazing. You don't have to wait weekly and find out that episode 5, it's not as great as they thought it was going to be or something.
Yeah.
So did you feel that? Were people reaching out to you immediately when they released it? Or how long did it take for you to realize that you guys had something huge here?
When it came out.
Yeah, I got a
bet.
little story about this one that I've
Shoot.
told before. So we came out here to LA to go to the premiere.
Where was that on?
It was at Max Sennett Studios. We were done working for after that happened, so we both went on vacation, which was, I think that may be the last time I went on vacation.
My heart bleeds.
Before everything changed.
Now you just work on vacation.
Yeah, now we work
Right,
on vacation.
yeah.
Now
Right.
we have
Just
this
fine.
mobile rig right here.
It's a good problem to have.
And so I went camping the day that the show came out. So my cell phone was turned off, or I didn't have service for like 3 days. And I got back. It came out on a Friday. I got back into town on Sunday and turned my phone back on. And that's when I knew.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because when I turned, have you ever seen those videos of the notifications just like flying by?
Oh, yeah,
It
like when a
literally did that.
celebrity posts a...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like that. And my phone started overheating. And I was just like, okay.
And it was old
Oh, right.
friends. It was new friends. It was people looking for you.
It
Everything.
was
right?
everybody, yep.
I bet.
What a moment.
And that was, yeah, because also we didn't tell anyone we were doing it, really. We didn't want to jinx it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, we could have been fired a week before it came out.
Yeah.
And you
then-
never know with those things
Yeah, we
too.
read
If
we read like Berkeley School of Music of Scoring book, and just like that's like all we had to go off. And they're like, oh, they can just like drop someone at the last minute.
Yeah, no kidding. They can even
like-
you can even score the whole thing, and they can decide. You know,
Right.
it's never over till it's over. You got to see it on the air
Like
with your
Legend.
music.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Legend, Chinatown, one of the most famous, 10 days before Chinatown came out.
Oh, right, yeah.
Jerry Goldsmith wrote an entirely new score. They
Yeah.
took the first one off, put Jerry Goldsmith on, Academy Award.
Didn't that happen with Space?
2001.
Yeah, 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ligeti.
There
I think-
wasn't a
Yeah.
there. It was, what was it? Alex North scored it and
Could have
then
been.
went to the
Showed
premiere
up
and
at the premiere
in New
to
York.
find that
Ooh.
he still got invited. I thought that was kind of a
That's going to leave a
move.
mark.
Yeah. Shows up at the premiere.
Hate it
First,
when that happens.
first cue, he says,
So was it?
This is not my score.
When Stranger Things started and you heard your music, you were like, whew, I didn't get north.
Exactly.
I didn't get nuked. North. I wonder, the most important question I have, and Kenny, sorry to interrupt, but
how dare
have you met Millie?
Yes.
Oh yeah, she's great.
Sweet.
She
Right,
is
she is
amazing.
sweet.
She remembers you.
11.
She's amazing. Yeah, she's great.
That's great, because she wasn't so impressed with you. She told me that she actually.
Yeah.
No, I've never met her. I wish. I'd like to.
She's
so
she's
cool.
adorable. Yeah, and
She seems so cool. The whole cast seems cool.
Yeah, they're all.
Yeah, she calls me a lot and says, "You know those guys, Kyle and Dixon, Michael,
Keep
and
them
Stein?"
away from me.
Yeah, just
If you could just, I don't know, maybe block them like, from my social media.
She seems absolutely amazing, of course.
Yeah.
And the whole cast. I mean, the Duffer Brothers.
This is amazing.
The Duffer Brothers
They
really
got drops for everything.
In every, in some ways, it's a compliment to you in that every single part of this show has been curated. And
Yeah, I was gonna
really
say.
actors, of course, and the writing. And I heard, I don't know if it's true, that they had tried to shop the show many times without
That's true.
success.
I heard that
So
too.
that when you hear that finally Netflix says, "Okay, we'll do it," and it becomes what it is, I wonder how many people in Hollywood are saying,
Oh, man, I
that
know.
was those guys. Darn it,
They're
they
just
were-
sitting there going,
I mean,
"Son
I
of
don't
a-"
think. I think if it went with a different network and they weren't given the creative freedom that they got, it might not have turned
Yeah.
out what it was.
I
So,
agree. Yeah.
I could see it going another way if I don't, if there was too heavy of a hand from
Or
the.
too much pushback, or because
Yeah.
with us it was just like the Duffers liked what we were doing. They just
That's
just
so nice.
pushed-
Yeah,
pushed
another
it.
network would probably have "It's a Stranger Things we're doing tonight." Come on, tune in.
Could've been like
It's
a-
Stranger Things.
Have Robert Kraft write the "Who's the Boss" 2 theme
Stranger
for it.
Things tonight. We're gonna have.
All
a
right, I
strange-
think this
Sorry.
is a perfect time to take
That's-
a break.
that's our
Okay.
cue.
Sorry to cut you off.
I've actually
Robert.
just written 2 alternate theme songs in case you need them. We can
Go ahead
talk.
and you could just mute that, Matt. We're going to get going. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to play Name That Score with Dixon and Stein. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Hey, Matt Schrader here, director of Score, a film music documentary. For the latest news from the film music world, follow us on Facebook. Just search Score, a film music documentary. Or let us know who you want to hear next on the show on Twitter, @ScoreThePodcast.
This is backwards.
No, this is our this is our music coming back. We're back. It's Score the Podcast. We're here with Kyle Dixon and Michael Stein, the composers, Emmy-winning, Grammy-nominated composers for the Stranger Things score, Stranger Things 1 and 2. I thought that was interesting that they called it 2 instead of season 2.
Yeah, I
We
guess
thought
they're
it was
going
weird
with
they
the
didn't use a
80s.
Roman numeral. For this
Or
to be symmetrical.
even Stranger Things.
But
Hey.
it's like, is it like the Superman 2, or is it, what is the?
Yeah,
what
it's
is
almost
the
like
2?
a movie.
I forget. I'm
Yeah.
sure it's derived from
Did
another.
when you guys wrote the intro theme, the Emmy-winning theme, did you write that to the graphics? Did you write that on its own? This one, yeah.
Well,
It-
I mean, we
Or
wrote
did
it.
exist?
We wrote it to 30. We did 30-second, 45, and 1-minute versions, and then once we got the graphics, we had to do a million edits to make it.
It was
match.
kind of like, okay, so we got the prompt that they maybe would have a theme, and that we maybe would get to do it. So there was part of the contract that even if we did it, then it wasn't, they didn't have it figured out, but we were working on it the entire time from once we started. And the source of that cue started as just like a little library piece that was an idea. We pitched a couple things for the theme, and then they had found a demo that was in the library that was basically a really,
a survive demo?
really.
Oh,
No,
well-
it was just a track that was recorded.
Yeah, because we weren't sure that we were going to do the theme. We didn't know if they were going to go with the song or something. And then once they told us, after we had already been working on the show for a while, then they told us, okay, you're going to do the theme.
It was just a crude thing that sent over
And yeah, we
basically
were
that arpeggio and a bass line.
yeah,
It's so cool.
because they used dirge in the trailer. We were kind of thinking that they wanted something like that for the theme. So most of the ideas that we pitched as themes were more in that vein, and then they said, "Hey, there's something to this demo. Maybe try to play around with that." And then
Yeah,
and then
I
we
kind
wrote
of felt
the version.
obsessed with themes and being like, I haven't heard one that like wasn't like really got your attention, and from any of the TV I'd been watching since like Twin Peaks or something. So it was just really important to like put a lot of time on the side of doing scoring.
It seems like you didn't stray that far from the Survive style. It almost sounds like if you played the Stranger Things soundtrack or your score, it almost sounds like a Survive album.
Yeah, I think it's like a very similar, like the way it's built and the tones and the textures and stuff of the theme sounds like the way that Survive's music is produced. But given that, like, we did play the theme live a couple times on the first tour.
Nice.
When we were like did this the album cycle, and it just didn't really fit in the set. So we kind of realized it wasn't as cohesive with Survive's sound.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I do. I think it definitely seems like something that it's weird. Like Michael was mentioning that we played it. And it's this song. It was like the clear weakest link of the set. So we pulled it from the set, but it's the weakest link of the set that like everybody wants us to play.
It's also all white notes, and it's the only piece of music that exists that's all white notes that's, I think, ever come out of us.
I think that if you guys are thinking about season 3, tonight when the telephone rings, it might
We're
be
gonna have
some
to
stranger things.
What do you
think? Am I honest? And then goes.
Oh wow, that was perfect.
It sounds a little like the Who's the Boss theme.
Oh well, okay. I'm working on it. But if you guys want any ideas, I got. If you want it to be lyrical, okay.
All right, I think
on?
it's time. Maybe I'll name that score.
Here's a
Who's
real
the Boss?
theme for you right here.
Get ready to play Name That Score! The film music game where a perfect score means you, yes you, could be a winner. Now let's play Name That Score!
Yeah. We got some birds in the background. We got some planes overhead, and a studio audience listening for this edition of Name That Score. Our theme today is 1980s classics. You guys' music has a little bit of a 80s feel to it. Works with the story, and a lot of that analog synth kind of stuff is really cool. Some of those are some examples we'll play. We'll recap real quick how this works. We play 5 examples of film scores in reverse. Robert, Kenny, Kyle, and Michael will all pick from 3 multiple-choice answers. The last question we give is worth double, and if anybody gets all of the questions right, we give away a prize on our Twitter account at Score the Podcast. Just mention hashtag Name That Score. And our theme again today is 1980s classics, so each one of these pieces of music is played backwards, but it's from something you may recognize. We'll start with question 1. The options for this one, I'll give you these first, are The Empire Strikes Back. These are all from the early 80s.
Multiple choice?
Yeah.
It's multiple choice, so you gotta match these up with the sound that we're about to play. The 3 options are The Empire Strikes Back, 1980, that's John Williams. Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981, also John Williams. Or The Thing, 1982,
John Carpenter.
Ennio Morricone.
I was going to say, he actually wanted to write the music for that. That's really difficult.
All right, let's
we'll
play
try
it.
Empire Strikes Back.
Boom.
Michael says Empire Strikes
Wasting
Back.
no time.
Yeah, I mean that's the answer. I was like, I don't have to say it, dude.
You're about to learn my technique for playing this game is I usually go with whoever feels really strongly. So I'm going to say Empire Strikes Back.
We usually have a rule for this that we make Robert go last.
First.
Oh, first? Yeah, right.
I don't know how the rules work, actually. Am I supposed to answer? I don't know.
Well, the goal is that someone wins, so we give away a prize.
Kenny, what do you think?
Well, I don't need to pilfer off anyone's choices because I feel that it's
Kenny's
The Empire
pretty
Strikes Back.
And the answer is...
Points for everybody. It's the Imperial March. All right, so we got everybody's got 1 point now after the first question. We're moving on to question 2.
Can I ask a question just before everybody goes? Do you know what happens if Darth Vader marries Ella Fitzgerald?
Oh, boy.
Are you going to sing again?
No. She becomes Ella Vader. Let's go. Number 2.
Oh, boy. All right, question 2. These are all...
Hold on. I got something for that one.
Thank you so much.
Kyle rolls around with his own
Soundboard.
Vegas DJ sound effects.
Yeah. All right. I got one for that, too.
Thank you.
Question 2. These are all scores from 1984. Is this from The Terminator, 1984, Brad Fidel?
Brad Fidel. Yeah.
Fidel. Beverly Hills Cop, that's also 1984, Harold Faltermeyer.
Harold Faltermeyer.
And Gremlins, 1984, Jerry Goldsmith. Robert's raising his hand.
Boom, dang, ding, 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 ding.
What is it, Robert?
Harold Faltermeyer.
It's Axel F by Harold Faltermeyer.
It is.
F, great
That's
call.
I vote Axel F.
No question.
Points for everybody again.
Yeah. So good.
Pretty fresh.
This is a good one.
I'd
yeah.
play this with a banana on my Instagram.
How'd you manage to do
Let's
that?
leave
I
that alone,
seriously
too.
play it with banana on my lunch break.
Was this
at
on
work.
Valentine's Day
It
with
was at Switched On.
Predator?
It's on this really cheesy like Casio keyboard I fixed. It was on the set of Predator, but
Set of
Catch a
Predator.
Predator.
This show's now co-produced by
I know.
Kyle Dixon.
I know. I love these guys. We gotta have them around.
A
for,
banana can just be a banana.
Sometimes a banana is
Sometimes.
just a banana.
Peanut butter jelly time.
I miss that guy.
All right. Question 3. Everybody's 2 for 2 so far. This is summer blockbusters from a few different years in the 80s. 1982's E.T., John Williams. 1985's Back to the Future, Alan Silvestri. Or 1989's, Kenny's favorite, Batman by Danny Elfman.
I know that.
I can name that score. Go ahead, Michael.
Robert?
It's
Wait,
Back
wait,
to the
wait.
Future.
You know what? I feel
Michael's
strongly
very
it's Back
confident
to the
about
Future.
that.
I don't know why. It just came to
See
me.
what he does? He poaches this stuff. You got it. You know, we did a couple weeks ago. John Powell, who is just did Solo, was giving fake answers.
Just to throw me
These
off.
guys would bite, and then he would change his
And
answer.
then he won. Back to the Future.
Back to the
I have
Future.
a strong feeling.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody, points. Does that start with that devil's tritone that we were talking about?
Yes.
Is that what that is?
I'll go with
Play
yes.
it. Play it again. Let's hear. Nah.
That?
Yes.
Not the chord, but the.
Yep. That one.
Dun,
Yep. Dun, Maria.
All right, we're moving on. We're moving on. Points for everybody.
Nice.
Let's
the only
see.
thing
We're
I
on
know.
question 4, so everybody's perfect, and we're moving on. This is our last question worth 1 point, and we're tied at 3. Everybody. Question 4. Scary movies. The Shining, 1980. Wendy Carlos and Rachel Elkind. Do you know Elkind?
I don't.
Poltergeist, 1982. Jerry Goldsmith. Or Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. Charles Bernstein.
Interesting.
Oh. That was definitely a horror experience right there,
Sounded
that
awesome.
beginning part.
I'm going to stretch way out and say Poltergeist.
I'm going to go with The Shining.
This one's difficult for me, but I'm gonna go with.
wanna hear it again?
Poltergeist
I want to go with
because
Poltergeist, but
Shining feels.
when you say Shining, it makes me want to say I don't.
Well, I'm just the little
I'm
kid
th-
voices.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like something from Poltergeist.
I don't know.
Wendy Carlos does have orchestral scores, right? That aren't synth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are we thinking?
I'm sticking with it.
I'm sticking with Poltergeist.
Sticking with Poltergeist.
Poltergeist? All right, we have 3 winners.
Oh,
Is it,
son of a...
it's Poltergeist.
And none of them are Kenny. Kenny gets a big fat. But for everybody else,
Just devastatingly embarrassing. I'll be in the car.
did you recognize this, Robert?
I actually realized that the funniest part about it is that I went with Poltergeist because the voice was backwards in this backwards cue. Here it's not backwards, of course.
Yeah.
But there, you have that little.
Oh, there's the laugh.
Yeah.
You hear the little
That's
girl when she
creepy,
goes
yeah.
to the TV. So
Poltergeist 3 is pretty good.
Poltergeist 3?
In the skyscraper.
missed that one. I'm just Poltergeist 1.
It's like the most B of all of them, but it's...
Oh, good.
Isn't in the skyscraper? Okay.
I'm going to a wedding in September at the Shining
Nice.
Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's in Estes Park.
Colorado.
A little
Yep.
worried.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie Room 227?
237. But
Or Room 237. That was
Oh.
the sequel, I think. No, I think you're right. Room 237.
was the
You must
sequel.
see. It's a documentary about
Scored by Jordan Bieber.
about the room in the hotel
yeah.
where weird stuff happens, and you'll see.
And it's kind of it goes into a lot of the conspiracy theories about the making and all the hidden messages that are supposedly.
Well, I'll
in
be
the
sure to
movie.
watch that on the plane.
It'll
as I
freak
head
you
over
out.
there.
Stranger things. Just
All right.
tonight.
Question 5. This one is worth double, so that means Kenny can get back in the game and
Get it.
possibly even win the game
Bring it.
if everybody else misses it.
Unlikely.
Action movies from the 80s. Top Gun, 1986, Harold Faltermeyer and Giorgio Moroder. RoboCop, Basil Polidoris.
Basil, yeah.
And Die Hard, 1988, Michael Kamen. Did you work on that, Robert?
I didn't work on it. I was there at the set, but I didn't work on
What
it.
was the first one again?
The first one's Top Gun.
Oh, Top Gun. Okay.
Sounds like a Danny Elfman score backwards. I don't know.
What's the middle one?
Yeah,
The first one
same
was
thing.
Top Gun.
I'm going
Top
with
Gun?
RoboCop.
Top Gun, RoboCop, and Die Hard.
I'm going with Die Hard.
I'm going RoboCop.
I'm Kraft, so I'm going with RoboCop.
All right, we have one winner for this. It's the winner of the game, Michael.
Nice.
Wow.
I don't know what that was. That was a different drop. That was from Die Hard.
Was it really? Can we hear it forward?
No, because that was John Legend.
Oh, amazing.
Wait, can we hear it forward?
Yeah, I got to pull this up. Talk amongst yourselves.
I didn't
for a
mean to
second.
flick you
Die
guys
Hard,
off.
Michael
Wait.
Kamen. I actually
apologize.
Went, what, you apologize for winning?
For flicking you guys off.
Oh no, I think that's required of the winner. If we can get a photo of that.
Was that what that bird was?
If we can get a photo.
That's sportsmanship.
That's, I like that. These guys are good. Where in the movie is this cue?
This is a big end.
Have you heard it? I've seen that movie a lot.
I've seen it a lot too.
Did you
been a
recognize this?
I just kind of recognize the texture of the
Yeah.
sound.
Have you ever seen what was Nakatomi Plaza?
Yes.
In Century City?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when they filmed that
You can
movie,
see it from what studio?
You can see it from Fox. I mean, it's
Fox.
literally right next door
Yeah.
to Fox. But
Which has the Die Hard painted on the wall.
correct.
Yeah.
And they were building that building in 1988 and decided to use it as a set. So in a lot of the scenes where it's kind of funky and,
Oh, it was unfinished and
it was
they just
unfinished.
used it?
Yeah, they used it.
Brilliant.
We have
Yep.
one bonus question that we were going to use as a tiebreaker. Should we do it? You want to do it just
We'll
for
do
fun?
it. Well,
Yeah.
I think we have our winner,
No.
We have
let's
our
do it.
clear winner already.
Michael.
Definitely Michael. And
Michael and Stein.
But this could be a runner-up.
Michael and Stein. Yeah, the
both
duo.
of them.
Stein.
Michael and Stein both won.
Kind of a split personality.
You guys did a great job over there, Michael and Stein.
Yes.
Question 6. Is this
I wish I
music
could
from...
speak out of my throat and my voice, like,
Throats
and like do like a double.
So that's
right.
the low one is Stein.
In the upside down.
nice.
Question 6. Is this from The Karate Kid, 1984, Ghostbusters, 1984, or Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure,
Who you gonna call is what I want to
1989?
know.
What were they?
Robert's raising his hand. The options here are The Karate Kid,
Mm-hmm.
Ghostbusters, and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Elmer Bernstein, Ghostbusters.
That was
Go
very-
ahead. I just
very
cut you
confident.
off. I'm trying to throw
Bill
you
and
off.
Bill and Ted.
I'm going with Ghostbusters.
I'm going with Ghostbusters, too.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Bill and Ted.
I recognize that.
I know.
Kyle's going Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
Kyle and Dixon. Sure. The firm of Kyle and Dixon lawyers.
It is Ghostbusters.
Yeah. I recognize that.
Everybody knows the song, but this one's
Is
a
it from the
little bit-
library? No. When is
It's
this?
used all through the film
Yeah.
in different places. But yeah, I think this is used in the opening scene.
Like in the hotel, or
I'd have to watch it again, but I know it's right at the start.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I love that.
Hey, I wanted to ask you guys another question before we wrap things
Wait,
up.
wait.
Oh, excuse me.
I'm still the winner.
Play our close.
Yes, I was going to say.
Our big winner.
Michael Stein!
Michael Stein!
Oh, man. It's getting out of hand. I wanted to ask you guys, in recording, have you recorded something really weird and turned it into a music?
Is that part
There
of
it
the
is.
Stranger
That's
Things?
the answer. All right, that's it.
He said he used a broken thumb piano.
I mean, we've done a lot. I'm trying to think of like the weirdest thing that we.
Well, I know that you're always trying to experiment, and every season of Stranger Things, do you try to add something new or
well, this
break
is kind
the
of
rules a little
this
more?
is kind of a joke for me, but in the second season we added a piano.
Oh, that is so rad.
Whoa,
That's pretty out there.
Yeah,
man,
Cool.
It's wild. You can play all the notes at one time.
Amazing.
They have
It
so
gets
many
louder
keys on
when
it?
you play it.
you don't have
harder.
to plug it in.
It's just radical.
It just
Went
plays.
super acoustic.
Nice.
Weird stuff, huh?
I like that you mentioned this thing the other day that I kind of forgotten about. When we visited the set during the shooting of season 1, we were just playing around, and
In
I had
Georgia? Or?
yeah, in Atlanta. We were playing around on the set, and one of the, I guess, whose house was it? Is it the
Mike
No. Wheeler's house?
Wheeler house.
The Wheeler's house? Anyway, in one of the rooms they have a piano that's completely out of tune and broken. So
A prop.
yeah, it's a prop. We recorded one of the like low notes that sounded
They were all
really
out of
weird.
tune. They were like
just kind of like
Nice.
Cool.
dissonant,
Just dissonant weird.
and weird sounds.
Looked like one of those little
we
handheld
sampled that and
recorders.
used it for a couple jump scares, so just like on the low end of things. So something from the actual house.
So
We will listen
did
for
you
it.
play it and identify like, oh, that's kind of a cool texture we could maybe use for like? Did you have something in mind when you recorded that?
we just saw the piano and went to go play it, and then we're like, oh, that's like
It just
really out
it
of
was
tune.
Really out
Sounds
of tune.
kinda-
So it sounded cool.
Yeah.
So do you roll around with a recorder then for moments like that?
Yes.
Usually, yeah.
Just like a little pocket
Just keep
recorder?
one in your backpack.
I mean, well, you've always got a phone, so you can get some version of a recording that way. But I have a better one that I keep in my bag. Yeah.
Nice.
yeah, I don't know if there's anything that strange. I mean, we use there's some manipulated like water phones in Dulcimer, and that's like
that's pretty common. In
run
scores
stuff through
now,
Wesley's a lot and stuff like that. But
Good.
weird.
I'm just
I
tripping
don't
on
know.
the fact that somebody actually used a real piano.
I know.
That's Back to the
They're
Future.
coming back.
Yeah, coming back.
I don't know what takes up more space, a real piano or the sample space of like a
Oh yeah.
real piano on the plug-in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining the show. Also, a reminder to our listeners that Michael Stein won the game. So we are giving away a signed Stranger Things album.
Stein.
A Stein.
Everyone's excited.
Yeah, so make sure to go to our Twitter page at Score the Podcast and use the hashtag #NameThatScore, and you could be a winner.
That's right.
As Matt would say. And a quick reminder to our listeners as well, we're one of the fastest growing film and TV podcasts on Apple Podcasts, and that's thanks to you telling a friend, rate and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts and all of the favorite podcast apps that you listen to.
Hey, I'm Robert Kraft. For Kenny Holmes, Matt Schrader, myself, and all four of them, Michael and Stein, Kyle and Dixon.
Michael Dixon, that's your father.
It is my dad's name. Yes.
What about
Kyle Stein?
Kyle Stein? We should look him up.
Yeah.
I think that might
Get
be
on
your
Facebook.
alias.
We'll see you next week.